Alright, I think it's some kind of comment video, yes. So anyway, this Stephen Burrow guy, I think that's his name. Stephen Burrow, yeah. Stephen. Um, Made some long comment on the Jeff Yee video. Just trashing me on that video. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm going to respond to it, but apparently he's the same asshole I blocked under a different name. Um, but it's just, he types an awful lot of stuff. I mean, it's nice that he can type so literally, literally. That's probably right, literally. But anyway, um, but it's just crap. And he keeps making these same arguments over and over again. I've answered the points. I mean, I don't know what you think the answer. I mean, he really thinks it's true that we can't observe the true two slit pattern because our eyes don't work. I mean, first you'd have to give me some reason to think that's the explanation, that you think somehow an electronic sensor is going to give you some sort of resolution that's going to be so much improved. I don't think it is. I don't think there's any reason to think it is. But anyway, I don't know what this thanks. I'm looking forward to the rest. I don't know what that means. But anyway, unlike most here, I'm only recently becoming convinced that we've been sold a pig in a poke with the interference explanations. So he recently became convinced, but he doesn't explain what convinced him. But sadly, not through any of the determined efforts of the likes of DraftScience or dissidents David Hilster, and a few others. So we didn't have anything to do with it. He occurred to him through some other mechanism, which he doesn't reveal. I do appreciate what everyone is trying as sincerely as everyone else, and that this is a difficult nut to crack properly. Well, it's a nut that's been around a long time, and I would argue that it's not that difficult. It's just they've never done the experiments. Okay, they found what they wanted, which is wave verification, and they didn't play with the experiments at all. I mean, it's just kind of obvious, and they just kind of made up stories about experiments they thought about doing, like trying to detect photons, which is impossible. And they were all kind of, and then when they pretended they actually detected photons and then unplugged the detector, and experiments that were never even conducted. So this nut hasn't even been tried to be cracked. So let's understand that there's been no effort made by any major institutions to crack the nut, and may not even be possible. Well, clearly I think it's really possible. It's just they don't want to. Once they verify what they want to verify, they're done. Okay, they've gotten all they can get out of the experiment. There's nothing else to see here, and yeah, there's plenty else to see. But I have to confess to being disappointed by the low standard of evidence presented so far. When I say low standard, I'm not talking from some lofty position. I'm talking basic geometry. So here he makes a claim that I've made some geometric mistake that some 12-year-old could make or something. And to be this arrogant and obnoxious in your telling of this story when you're the one insanely wrong is just, you're just the definition of a fucking, you're such a troll you don't even know you're a troll. I mean, you're like a retarded troll. I'm talking basic geometry. We expect 12-year-olds to be able to perform to a better standard. If people can't even use simple protractor to draw the angles they claim makes the interference pattern by photons simply by bouncing off successive electrons. And so he's claiming that my explanation, which I'm not saying is the absolute truth, I'm just saying it clearly does explain the pattern, that the only thing the sine theta does in the equation, because it's divided by the distance, is establish an angle for every. So you take sine theta and you divide it by the width of the slit and multiply it, let's say, by the frequency of the light. Okay, so you're taking two factors, the width of the slit and the frequency of the light, and creating a sine theta angle that's going to be a standard angle for the experiment. That angle will be the same angle throughout the whole experiment, no matter where you pretend the photons are, no matter where you Huygens them, in any location. That angle will always be the same. So it just creates a standard angle for every ray essentially, to be bent by, idiot. It's exactly the same thing I'm talking about, you moron. Let's see, where's my mouse? 12-year-old draw angles they claim make the interference pattern by photons simply bouncing off successive electrons at the same angle off each one, supposedly. Say 3 degrees off the first electron, then 3 degrees off the second, but less frequency. Why would there be less frequency? So where do you even come up with that? So I don't know what that part was. Supposedly explaining the degrees in intensity. Yes, 3, 6, 9, 12. That's right. That's the pattern, asshole. Then another 3 degrees off the third, etc., etc. Well, I just find it very sad that in the 3 months or so DS has been promoting this as a perfectly rational alternative explanation to wave interference. Not a single person appears to have raised the obvious point that this would make the fringes get wider and wider. Okay, so now I'll go to the drawing. Alright, let's see, maybe I can mark this space by putting some spaces in here. Okay, that'll save me some trouble to find it later. And let's go to the drawing table. I assume this is the right camera to elevate. Yes. This image is in the wrong place now. Alright, so that's correct enough. Alright, I don't have the extra light on. I don't think we really need it. Alright, so his argument, look, all double slit and single slit experiments have a shared problem that has been addressed by people, but no one ever really does it. But the idea is when you do the experiment, you really should be doing it against a curved space to get the true pattern, because by doing it on a flat surface, you're obviously going to create a little bit of fatness here. So you'll break the standard of the size. So the sizes will stretch as it goes out. And that happens with all the patterns, but it's such a minor defect that no one cares. So if you really want to do it right, to get the proportions exactly right, that everything is exactly the same size, you have to do it on a curved surface. You have to project the image onto a curved surface to see it in exactly the right proportions. But what he's arguing is somehow this idea, okay, that if I just change the experiment to, we'll just say the bars are being created, the brights and darks, we won't call them bars, we'll just say they're brights, brighter and less bright. That somehow my theory that hitting electrons couldn't create that pattern. And so I'll put some electrons out here just randomly. So these electrons are all in a tiny amount of space, less than a millimeter. So their width won't jump them to different spots, but it will create the width of the slit. So that should be understood. But so the point is that I'm saying you could take any degrees, 2.5 degrees, 1.5 degrees. So you figure out what the width of the slit is. You multiply it, let's say, times the frequency of the light. So you go the width times the frequency, and you divide that, by some factor, some constant, and that'll tell you the angle. And so let's just say it's 3 degrees for the sake of argument, and I'll draw it any degrees I feel like. But the idea would be is that there's a field of electrons, and as the light comes through, if it hits one electron, it could go right or left. And let's just say in this case, so there's a 50-50 chance it can go this way or it can go this way, and it's going to go just 3 degrees. And then it could hit another electron here, and it'll have the same choice, 50-50. It could go 3 degrees this way, or it could go 3 more degrees this way. And so let's say it goes 3 more degrees this way. So that would get you further out. So just to understand, it could be 3, 6, 9, 12. Right, it could have been 3, and then it could be 3 back the other way, and then it could have been 3 back this way, and then it could be 3 back that way. It can get there lots of different ways, but the idea would be is every time it hits an electron, it's a 3-degree change, a 3-degree change. And that will give you exactly the same pattern that's found in the double slit or the single slit pattern. There's absolutely no geometric flaw in this explanation. And clearly, let's say two of them took exactly the same course. If one photon came in over here and one photon came in over here, you could see that this would be a millimeter difference. And so they would both take exactly the same path, and they would be a millimeter apart when they got to the end here. So that would explain the width of the pattern. So the width of these bars I'm explaining as being a representation of this width. Obviously this width is going to be much wider than a millimeter, but that's going to be determined by this distance. So the distance from the target will decide how much thicker this is than your slit, but it's going to be exactly proportional. Is that the symbol for proportional? It'll be exactly proportional. Okay, this D will be exactly proportional to this width. So there's no flaw in this explanation. He just says stuff. He just talks this shit like there's somehow this doesn't explain why this pattern is exactly, they're all equally distant. And again, the only difference you have in the distance is caused by because you're casting it on a flat surface. So you're obviously stretching anything that goes further away is going to be stretched. But if you put it on a curved surface, and this holds true for their experiments, if you put it on a curved surface, it'll be completely proportional, identical. There's no problem with the geometry. Absolutely no problem with this geometry. So quit lying and saying that you know of some problem with this geometry. There's absolutely no problem with the geometry. You stinking cunt. Why don't you pull out your protractor and show me how? Why don't you draw 3 lines, okay, deflected by 3 degrees each time, or 4 lines deflected by 3 degrees each time, and explain to me how that geometry is somehow broken, that it doesn't create a regular pattern. Of course it does. Alright. Working out from the middle, not the regular... Oh, I have to switch from the drawing page to the... that's not the right image. Oh, that's not the right one. This one has to go down. There we go. Okay. Alright. Working out from the middle, not the regular width we do observe. So I don't know quite what that means, not the regular width we do observe. Working out from the middle, so the central maxima, which is 2 slits wide, I mean 2 bars wide. Why on earth would anyone let that pass as a reasonable explanation when it doesn't even produce the observed regular fringe width? How so? How doesn't it do that? The fringe width is a consequence of the width of the slit. The width of the slit decides the width of the bars. Photons come in on different locations on the width of the slit. Therefore, they land at different locations within the bar of the cast pattern. What's wrong with that fucking logic? It produces one that gets exponentially wider. Again, it doesn't get exponentially wider. It's only 3 degrees plus 3 degrees. That means 6 degrees. 3 degrees plus 3 degrees plus 3 degrees equals 9 degrees. There's certain definite locations. And it doesn't get exponentially anything. There are only 3 degrees difference between 6 degrees and 9 degrees. There's only 3 degrees of difference between 0 degrees and 3 degrees. There's only 3 degrees of difference between each bar. Nor does it even attempt to address the equal, but opposite dark fringes. Why would I address where the light doesn't go? I'm addressing where the light goes. I'm not addressing where the light doesn't go, because I don't need to address where the light doesn't go. Obviously, the light doesn't go 1.5 degrees, and it doesn't go 4.5 degrees, and it doesn't go, yes, every place, every multiple of 1.5 degrees, every 1.5 degrees plus 3 degrees, or plus 6 degrees, or plus 9 degrees will never have a photon there, because no electron will throw one there. Shit. Duh. that seem to be brushed under the carpet. Again, how so? How did I brush anything under the carpet? I point where the photons go. I don't point to the places where they don't go because they obviously don't go there. Shit. Just the same as today's repeat of his dismissal of gradual variation in intensity. So again, he keeps arguing that somehow the fact that the pattern doesn't have that first off, the bars, when you stretch them out, start to misshapen. That is, they do, drawing. I do have to find a more efficient way to do this. I mean, probably isn't any, but I just would like to have a better, more efficient way to do this. So he keeps claiming that the fact that the pattern, I don't know how to draw it, so I just don't know how to make the gradual thing with these heavy pens. But the idea is that it gets darker, and it shouldn't get smaller. It should just get darker, and then it gets lighter, and then it gets darker, and then it gets lighter, and it should be very gradual between the light and the dark. And the real truth is the slits do end up stretching into cigars. They get pointed. They shouldn't get pointed. They shouldn't do any of that by their own mathematical theory. They should be very consistently the same exact width and height. Their height should never shrink at the edges here, okay, by their own mathematics. These are real problems that you're dismissing, that you're ignoring. The pattern clearly isn't structurally what it should be, which is this pure gradient that doesn't have any change in width. So you're saying I'm the one who has to account for it, and in a sense I have to prove what the pattern looks like when we already have images of the pattern. They're the ones that have to explain why their pattern doesn't match their mathematics. I don't have to sit there and prove it because it's already proven not to match. The evidence is already there optically. You're the one that has to say, oh, well, our eyes are broken and here's the real proof because I did it with this photo detector and there's really no cigars here. No, there's no cigar shape. They're not oval shaped bands. That if you put a photo detector on here, you'll see that the bands are perfectly consistent and they're all the same height. And it gets dark and then it gets light and then it gets light and it gets dark and it's all the same height and there's no distortion at all. You're the one that has to demonstrate that, you not nice person. Okay. Back to the saga. I mean, very long comment. Alright, let's see. Alright, gradual variation vs his on-off strictly bar pattern claim. Having been measured with photodiodes rather than old bloke's dodgy eyes. So again, he's saying that somehow cameras can't take an accurate picture of it. Our eyes can't see it. That's the explanation. Somehow our eyes are broken and we need a computer, we need an electronic device, a synthetic device to be able to look for us because we can't see it right. And I think it's just an insanely bogus comment. We see a lot of things very accurately. We can watch movies and we can see people's faces and we see the color of their eyes and we can see all kinds of shit. This is just absolute crap as an explanation, as a complete distraction from admitting the simple truth that yes, the pattern doesn't exactly match the mathematics. By sheer coincidence, I was only today reading someone's account of them actually making the effort to do that test and being surprised to discover the intensity really does change as gradually as predicted. Oh, and where's the link to this? So he sees something and he can't even link to it. He can't even call it by name. Give me the Google text that will show me this document or this video or this proof. What a crock of shit. And not in the on-off bars that even he thought it looked like prior to his careful test. Where's the link? I mean, it's just so bogus, this claim. So why don't you just show the evidence? Then the argument's over. You show me the proof of this great experiment performed under these proper test conditions that demonstrate that the pattern is perfectly even and there's no real cigar shapes and none of that stuff is real. It's all an illusion of our poor eyesight. Show me the evidence of that. Okay. Prior to his careful tests. Okay. In fairness, I don't even know. What the fuck is that? Post the fucking link, you lousy, lying cunt. In fairness, I've thanked DS many times for his efforts, and I do continue to be grateful, but it's deeply disappointing he doesn't appear to own a protractor. Well, again, I don't need a protractor to know that 3 degrees plus 3 degrees is 6 degrees, and plus 3 degrees is 9 degrees, and plus 3 degrees is 12 degrees. I don't need a protractor. That's exactly what their math does. It adds the same sine theta angle to each fucking slit. It's exactly the same as their math, you fucker. So if you're going to say my math is broken, you have to say their math is broken. Why don't you tell them to get a fucking protractor, you motherfucking cunt? Alright, or use it if he does have one, because he would have to realize the flaw in his aspect of his theory in 5 minutes flat. And again, what is the flaw? There's no fucking flaw, you asshole. Even if I do it if I do 3 degrees and I actually plotted it over a 5-meter distance, let's say, I still wouldn't have enough of an error to be that significant that it would just glare out at you that the outside fringes are longer. But there always are. Go put 2 slit experiment into Google and go look at the patterns, and you'll see that a lot of them do exactly that. The outside fringes are a little bit longer and wider than the interior fringes because they're stretched. And it's just because they're projecting it on a flat screen, you dumb fuck. You arrogant, obnoxious fucking cunt. I mean, I'm just saying, if you're going to be this aggressive to insult my fucking intelligence, to make all these disparaging critiques, then you have to be right, asshole. You can't do it when you're fucking plainly and obviously wrong. Alright, anyway. Deeply disappointing that he doesn't appear to own a protractor or use it or have one, because he would realize in 5 minutes flat. Okay, if he had simply made that bit of an effort to draw it for real, not make postage stamp size sketches where he can kid himself he is just solving something. Well, you don't understand their math. You're so stupid, and yet you're sitting there arguing with me, because it's exactly what their math does. And here you are pretending that some flaw of mine is only my flaw, when if you're going to say my analysis is flawed, then you have to say that every 2-slit experiment performed is flawed, you dumb fuck. You'd have to say that Professor Lewin is full of shit, you know, for projecting his single slit experiments on a flat screen and committing the same egregious error. Okay, we are all flawed. No, you're more flawed, cunt. I make as many mistakes. Well, if you had any humility, obviously you don't think you make any mistakes because you have no caution. Where's the care you took in recognizing what the argument was? Where did you take out the protractor? Show me your sketch pad where you took out a protractor and said, oh yeah, this can't possibly work. Where did you do it, fucker? Before you typed this fucking crap on somebody else's fucking video. Before you ragged on me on somebody else's fucking video. You weasel. Jesus. Let's see. Not make postage type sketches where he can kid himself he's just solved something. I didn't say I solved something. What I said, well, I'm saying is there's plausible explanations that don't have anything to do with many worlds, and photons have radar, and photons can split in two. You don't need a preposterous, ludicrous, religious answer to this fucking problem. It's not a puzzle. That's hard to fucking goddamn solve. And the point is none of you cunts wants the fucking solution. You're tied to your religious theories of reality, and you can't stand the fact that there's a simple, plain answer for your big fucking goddamn woo-woo mysteries. We are all flawed, and I make many mistakes. Well, again, you don't. You fucking have no humility and no caution. So you're obviously, that's just lying to people, talking about the fact that you're capable of making a mistake, because obviously you think you're some fucking lordy god that you can sit there and pronounce imbecile on other people when you're so fucking wrong. But I admit to them. No, you don't admit shit. I correct them. Where? How are you going to correct this? How are you going to correct you post this crap on somebody else's video and you're fucking wrong? Wrong as fuck. Correct them. What's your correction going to be, you fucking cunt? Alright, I thank people for stopping me making bigger fool out of myself. Well, again, if you had any of this humility, why would you make all these bold assertions? You make this bold assertion that you have evidence of some guy who actually did the experiment the proper way with test instruments and his pattern came out correctly, and you don't even post any idea of a link, any idea of where I can find this evidence, this proof. You piece of shit. I have a bit of humility. You obviously have none. You're typing in bold text, imbecile and shit. Fuck you. I do realize I have a heck of a lit. I guess, okay, it's a lot of shortcomings. Again, all this talk, all this pretense that somehow, oh, I don't do this all the time. I don't do these raggy comments like this. I don't boldly and recklessly, piss and puke on other people's reputations or their integrity. When it seems kind of obvious you do it casually, and when you aren't willing to pull out your fucking protractor and do the fucking math yourself, you stupid idiot. And I do take into account that in all probability, thousands of professors and students with far greater education and talent than mine have probably addressed most of the silly ideas I have come up with so far. Well, I don't even. The reason why I probably blocked you is because that's all you are full of is silly fucking ideas that are a useless distraction from my agenda. But I also recognize that just as occasionally that silly idea is of an uneducated person does come up trumps. Like Sir David Attenborough's school friend who ignored the world's greatest scientist and found fossils where they all claimed they could never have been found. Well, that doesn't mean he was an idiot going in. It means that he was smart enough to say, yeah, but they're not taking into consideration the blah 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 factor. So he probably thought there was some reason there was going to be fossils there. Due to the age of the rocks, a schoolboy made fools of them. You could say, well, I don't even know that story, so I don't even know what to say about it. But the point is imbeciles don't come up with great ideas. It usually just means that they're not conventional in the sense that they could be plenty smart, but yeah, they're not stupid enough to buy into the conventional nonsense, the standard religion. But if that schoolboy had simply drawn tiny sketches in crayon, so now he's making more insults to the fact that I actually attempt to illustrate the physical world by illustrating it. What a fucking crime. Fuck you, you fucking piece of shit. Where's your drawing? You don't even attempt a drawing, you pussy. You weak ass. In crayon of dinosaur heads he hoped to find, instead of getting a spade and digging to prove it. Well, again, it's my obligation to prove our eyes aren't broken. That I can actually see the electron pattern, and I can see the gradations in the pattern. And when you look at the photon experiment, they're not there. And he's saying it's my eyes that are not seeing them. Fuck you. I think it's fair to say we would all rightly find, and I have done the single slit experiment. I have seen the pattern. So again, you can keep lying that I haven't done any of these experiments. I have done them. I didn't see any perfectly smooth gradating pattern. I saw lots of misshapen bands that shouldn't be misshapen. Okay, I rightly find it a juvenile way of doing science. Well, I find, again, the proof is going to be in the ends, okay? So you know, you're just going to be written on history as something worthy of pissing on. You're just another one of these naysaying, trash-talking douchebags, okay, that I'm going to gleefully bury, deservedly, for being the fucking hacky trolls you fucking are. You just talk fucking shit. And here you are, you're not even an asshole who defends their nonsense. And you're so fucking petty. You have some fucking little fucking dildo up your fucking ass. And so you're all doing this because of some personal bullshit. You're not even doing it for any rational reason. Besides your own pettiness. Get a spade and dig. Get a protractor and draw. I'll say the same thing to you. Get a protractor and show me how somehow doing 3-degree increments ends up in some kind of exponential nightmare. Because it doesn't, douche. If the angles are all wrong, think again, like everyone else has to. Again, they're not wrong. Don't waste everyone's time teaching them garbage. I'm not teaching anybody anything. I'm making arguments about what the facts are, and you're the one distorting them and perverting them with some bizarre claim that somehow the facts aren't that our eyes work, and the facts are that 3 degrees plus 3 degrees doesn't equal 6 degrees. Keep it to yourself until you've at least checked it a bit. Again, he puts that in fucking bold text. Checked it a bit. Where did you check it, asshole? Where did you pull out your protractor and go 3 degrees plus 3 degrees? Yes, it equals 6 degrees. Plus 3 degrees. Yes, it equals 9 degrees. Yes, plus 3 degrees equals 12 degrees. When did you do that, jackass? Because if you did that, you'd say, yes, that's exactly what the math of an interference pattern produces. It's exactly that exact effect. It's not asking a lot. Yeah, it's really not asking a lot before you talk all this fucking trash. It's not fair to people to pretend you've got it all worked out, the universe and everything. Yeah, I'm not pretending. I'm obviously producing the product in the sense that who else has explained magnetism? Oh, that's right, nobody. Who else has given you a physical explanation for gravity? Oh, that's right, nobody. And who's tied them all together with fucking goddamn 4 force laws? 4 simple little force laws tying the whole fucking thing together. Who's done that, jackass? Oh, that's right, nobody. Alright. When not even the simplest things have been checked. And again, checked by who? Somebody who hasn't picked up a protractor and figured out that 3 degrees plus 3 degrees equals 6 degrees. Like an actual fringe width resulting from 3 plus 3 plus 3 degrees deflection off electrons. And again, what does it have to do with the fringe width? The fringe width is decided by the slit width, retard. Photon 1 goes over here. Photon 2 might go here. Photon 3 might go over here. Photon 4 might go over here. Therefore, photon number 1 and photon number 4 are going to be going through the width of the slit distance. And so when they end up on the pattern, they're going to be that's the potential difference between them. It's the width of the slit that decides the width of the bars, dumbass. Jesus fucking Christ. Deflection off the electron. Nor is it fair for DS to make terrible accusations against people who happen to disagree. Again, I don't do that, but fuck you. Calling Walter Lewin a liar. And where did I do that? Where did I do that inappropriately? Let's say, even if you say I did call him a liar, which I doubt I did, but let's just say I did because in some circumstance he says something that I know he knows isn't true. Like single slits don't produce a pattern or something. Or something. Why don't you just quote it? Quote the thing I said the word liar to. Quote the fucking statement that Walter Lewin made that I responded with the word liar. Quote it, you fucking coward. Because it's going to stand up. I don't call something a lie unless it's a complete pile of rubbish, fuckface. And I'm giving Walter Lewin credit by calling him a liar in such a case because the alternative is that he's too stupid to know the truth, that he doesn't know the actual facts. So I'm at least conceding he must know that the truth is that single slits make a diffraction pattern, so we have to assume he's just bullshitting if he says otherwise. And Hothliday. Hothliday is a compulsive fucking liar. So again, show the statement made by Hothliday where I said, you lying piece of scum. So it's just so for the fucking clean record, you motherfucker. If you're going to say I somehow inappropriately cast aspersions on some motherfucker who constantly misquotes me, constantly misparaphrases my theory, and I'm supposed to say he's something other than a compulsive fucking liar? Far worse than that in mocking my disability. So what? You're claiming Asperger's as a disability, as a okay, we invented this new disease, and so I have one of these new diseases. So this is what this whole butthurt bullshit is about. He's one of these guys who is a compulsive comic book reader, and he wants to consider that a disease because he doesn't like to do work or do anything serious. He just likes to read comic books and play video games. So I now have a condition called I just like to read comic books and play video games. It's a disease. Fuck you. I think most normal people find quite cowardly at the very least. Oh, so nobody's allowed to say, I think the science of this whole neurological crap where they've made everybody handy retard, this whole idea that you can be handy retarded is just fucking silly crap. That's right, it's bullshit science. You have some bad habits, motherfucker. I have them. I mean, I'm dyslexic, right? Technically, but I'm not really dyslexic. I just didn't learn how to do language right. I learned it wrong, and my brain has wrong habits in it. There's not some fucking mysterious disease that infected me and made me dyslexic. It's not some mystery thing. It could be caused because you get hit by a hammer in the wrong place. It could be caused because, again, you have a learning disability because you fucking were taught wrong. You were introduced to the thing called language in the wrong way, and your brain doesn't do it efficiently. There, simple explanation. You don't need a whole fucking goddamn disease or a whole fucking syndrome to describe the problem. Cunt. And who cares? I'm allowed to disagree with you on that subject without that infecting everything else, you stupid weasel. That logic you should be able to do with your handy retardation. Your handy retardation should make you logical enough to know that that's a bullshit argument. To take one argument and drag it into everything else and say, because he's wrong about that, he must be wrong about everything else. That would be stupid logic, fucker. Alright, sick back-to-back videos, 6, all titled Correcting Walter Lewin. Yeah, because, so you think that when he's talking about radar waves, radar plus radar equals no radar. Yeah, I think he's fundamentally and catastrophically wrong in his analysis of what the fuck's happening in reality. So why the fuck wouldn't I call it correcting him? Because he's fucking wrong, douche. All because DS couldn't grasp that adding a 1 kilohertz tone, they're not adding it. They're turning the transmitter on and off 1,000 times a second. They're not adding anything, they're just turning the transmitter on and off. And you don't think that fucks up the signal? I don't need to make that argument. I've already made the argument about the crossover that happens between two radio frequencies, and that their technology has to be capable of fixing that. That common radio transmitters can't receive different frequencies at the same time. They have to be tuned to a specific frequency, dumb fuck. Alright, but I'm not going to go over that argument again here. To make the interference audible. Yeah, and again, first off, just imagine, okay, so let's say you're turning it on. Well, I really don't want to make this argument, but here it is, okay, you have a little hunk of radar signal, and you have this off thing in between them. You could sort of understand that if these two signals are starting to blend over each other, well, that means the on-off is going to be at a different frequency too, isn't it, dumb fuck? And so it's not going to be the same signal anymore, and it might be below human perception, even if you were able to detect the signal, which you can't because they're overlapping. But even if you could, you still couldn't hear the audio signal because it's also been distorted, you dumbass. All right. well, it's still going to be a 100, it's still going to be a 1 kilohertz signal, but it might be of such a short length that the receiver can't make a tone out of it because the blips are too small. The on-offs are so small, have so little amplitude, so to speak, that you wouldn't be able to turn them into an audio signal. Fucker. Anyway, to a 10 gigahertz, it's not 10 gigahertz, but whatever, to make interference audible. Did not make the sound, it a sound experiment. Well, the point is they're using sound to tell them whether or not they're tuned to the carrier frequency, and the 1000 hertz isn't on the carrier signal. It's in between the carrier signal, you stupid shit. Alright, so anyway, since denying having said it, I never denied any such thing, you lying sack of shit. I do think DS, and I do thank DS, and have done so many times for persisting with pointing out the real flaws. Again, this is just such fucking useless drivel coming from you. Don't thank me for anything, you cunt. You lying, slandering piece of crap. Fuck you. Fuck you, you reckless turd. But I cannot, in good conscience, let that be good enough reason to let garbage keep being stirred into the communal feeding pot. Yeah, and and there's no garbage. I'm not the one who's unaccountable, cunt. You are. So now you've made this claim that you have proof that the photon experiment is the way we're just not seeing it right. Show the proof, fucker. So to speak. I don't intend to only focus on DS here. I certainly don't mean to imply everyone is a slapdash. I just plead in capital letters with everyone out there promoting new theories to keep a sense of proportion. Like what sense of proportion have you kept, you little fucking retarded weasel? Stop comparing themselves to Einstein. Yeah, again, and I don't compare myself to fucking Einstein because Einstein was as stupid and reckless as you. He talked about how he wanted a clockwork universe, and then he spewed some wooey, silly theory about bending space and fourth dimensional time. All right, and he didn't even check his own. He should have been able. He should have had enough guts, even though he's getting huge popularity out of it. He should have had enough guts to say, "Wait a minute, that might just be a pile of shit. I just made that crap up because it sounded okay. I mean, I'm not sure it's the right answer." And that's basically what he was saying in the end of his life is, I'm not sure I was on the right track anyway. You know, you fucker. So yeah, I'm not going to compare myself to Einstein because I don't think he was very fucking careful. Stop inventing new terms. Like what? Polarization? Maybe solve one small problem before you claim to have solved them all. Well, yeah, that's not going to get you a unification theory, jackass. And that's how this whole fucking channel started, was one problem at a time. It started with gravity, and then all of a sudden I fell on time dilation, and all of a sudden I fell on magnetism, and all of a sudden I fell on the nuclear forces, and I fell on explaining the goddamn electron and proton are monopoles, you dumb fuck, the magnetic monopoles, which Professor Lewin says I should get a Nobel Prize for discovering. Fuck you! You fucking backseat shit retard. You're looking out the back window and you're giving people advice on how to fucking drive. Fuck you! Stop inventing new terms. Maybe solve one small problem. Blah, blah, blah. Your own... So he's typing this shit on somebody else's motherfucking video. This fucking weasel. Your own theories have to be credible. Yeah, and credible how? Oh, they explain all of the evidence of the experiments. You know, all the rational experiments. Yes, it doesn't explain the entanglement experiments, of course, because they're not rational experiments. They have so many fucking woo-woo black boxes in them. Anyway, you know, and people who have... Well, I can follow a photon all the way across the room, and I have a device that allows me to follow the photon everywhere it goes. You know, just like they claim they've detected, oh, we can make a detector and detect which slit the photon went through with our photon detector. No, you can't detect a photon except by eating it, consuming it. All right, because it's not doing them any favors letting them carry on thinking their theory could possibly work. And so he says my theory can't possibly work because my eyes don't see the single slit pattern correctly, and somehow 3 degrees plus 3 degrees doesn't equal 6 degrees. Somehow. And so because of that, my whole theory is wrong. You're such a weasel. A fucking piece of shit. Sorry for the rant. Fuck you! I do realize everyone only does and says things with the best of intentions. Fuck you! What good intention was there in this petty fucking tripey bullshit? You're a little retarded weasel who's completely dependent on your retard badge. I'm a retard. I'm special. I don't have to play by the rules everybody else plays by. Alright, I get that. Alright, I don't like people who do that. I don't like people who make excuses for being a fucking goddamn different. Okay, and differently abled. I don't like people making excuses for that. Like, oh, I just have to wear my fucking shirt all the way up to my nipple. I mean, my pants all the way up to my nipples. I can't help it. I have to have 15 pens in my pocket. I have to wear my glasses crooked. I have to leave my hair a complete mess. Just do it and be proud of it. Be proud of being a fucking deviant. But don't pretend I have special deviosis. I'm a special deviant. Fuck you. Fucking petty, trolly piece of crap. Alright, well, that's enough. I was going to do the other comments, but fuck it. Fuck it. It's the fucking unaccountable fucking little weasel. He's probably 12 years old. Shit. Anyway. Till next time. I should stop interacting. Except people who want to interact face to face. I should just say, fuck it. Fuck these commenters. Fuck this bullshit. From these fucking asswipes who have put up nothing. They put up nothing. Their channels are always no content, no content, no content. And yet they're doing all this backseat driving of all the other content producers. Fuck you. Put up or shut the fuck up.